Hello again, everybody. My name is Mike Petralia. It's episode 234 of Patriots Beat on the CLNS Media Network. You can find us at our brand new website, clnsmedia.com. Follow us on Twitter at CLNS Media. Also follow our Patriots coverage at Patriots CLNS, and on Facebook at facebook.com CLNS Media. Also, as we just mentioned, we have just relaunched the CLNS Media website. It's now the home of this podcast and over 40 other podcasts and videocasts in the world of sports, finance, comedy, and lifestyles. Check us out. We are so excited to have our show featured on this brand new CLNS Media website. Support the network by checking out this episode at clnsmedia.com. My pleasure to welcome back old friend, pal, cohort, colleague, Ryan Hannable of WEEI.com, tremendous Patriots reporter. Caught up with him at Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis, and it was like old home week. We didn't get a chance to talk too much because I didn't get there until later in the week, Ryan, but have you recovered from your week of Super Bowl hype plus the game?
You know how Super Week goes. A lot of work at this time. There was a lot of mall food in the Mall of America. I had a lot of Chick-fil-A. So yeah, we're still recovering from that. But you know, it was a good week with some off the field stuff happening with Tom Brady and Tom versus Time and the two Bills and all that stuff. I don't think there was much about the game as in past Super Bowls, but as always, there's always something going on with the Patriots and always a busy week. So it was good to finally get to the game and we saw a pretty good one, as is always the case with the Patriots.
Indeed. And I got to tell you, I didn't have a problem with it being in the mall with one exception. You know what that exception is?
What was that?
Radio Row. Radio Row.
You didn't like it?
Oh, it was awful. I mean, that was ill-conceived. To have everybody piled on top of one another and have, again, I got there late in the week, but, the stories you hear of, the Super Bowl, former Super Bowl stars, former NFL stars, Hall of Famers, having to be kind of cattled around like a cattle call to different tables. It just didn't seem logistically like it was that well thought out. But the rest of it, having it in a mall, I thought was outstanding because there was plenty of space for the media workroom. You had both teams there, and certainly the media access I thought was pretty convenient. It's just the Radio Row, which is a big part of Super Bowl week leading up to it. Heard that it was pretty much a cluster.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that if they had more space, the food court would have been a great spot for it. But like you said, things were really crammed, and I know that every radio show was on top of one another, and they're moving all these, like you said, former players, coaches, celebrities around Radio Row doing all the different interviews, and it was tough to move around at times, especially because the fans could get pretty close. And so I guess, yeah, that would probably be, the one negative thing, just to, provide more space for that. And then from a logistics standpoint, covering the game, I thought it was great. Like you said, that the teams were at the mall. They were staying at the mall. So
it was great.
Had to walk,
Yeah.
You only had to walk a couple of minutes to get to access. So there was no, 45-minute bus rides out to the Patriots' team hotel at the Wild Horse Fest, like out in Scottsdale. so that was. Yeah, from a logistics and from a reporter standpoint, that was definitely a positive. So, besides from the cold weather, I think logistically, it went pretty well.
Obviously, two intense fan bases. Maybe we'll touch on that later towards the end of the podcast. But I want to get in now to the meat of this podcast and looking at a couple of the free agents that the Patriots have coming up, and then two players that everybody is talking about naturally going into the offseason. First of all, we'll talk Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. Your sense is that Brady will be back, but maybe 50-50 on Gronk. What's your sense on those two players?
I think Brady will definitely be back. I think that really wasn't much of a question, but with his comments before the game and even his Instagram post from the other night saying, the losing streak stops at 1. I think that sort of confirms he'll be back. Gronk, I think it's higher than 50-50. I've kind of changed my opinion a little bit on that. Maybe right after the game it was 50-50, but now that we've had sort of a week or so to process it, I would say it's probably 80-20 that he comes back. I think that was just, the emotions of a long season and a tough game, and just what his body has had to go through is what made him say those things. And again, you have to also consider the source of where that started, and that was Mike Florio, who's very close with Gronk's agent, Drew Rosenhaus. So potentially it could be a contract ploy. Obviously, threaten to retire could certainly, make the Patriots want to fork up more money. So I would expect Gronkowski to be back next year, but I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back with a new contract.
So here are the numbers we have to consider when considering these two players. We'll start with Brady. He'll be 41 by the time the 2018 season kicks off, obviously August 3rd. He'll be 41. He has 2 years and a total of $30 million cash remaining on his current contract. He carries cap hits of $22 million in the next two seasons, each of the next two seasons, and none of his salary guarantees start until the start of the season. If Brady were to retire this spring, Ryan, the Patriots likely process this transaction after June 1st, allowing them to split his $14 million in dead cap space up into $7 million in 2018, $7 million in 19. The reason I'm going over all of this is, from the Patriots' point of view, if Brady were to step aside, they'd have to act pretty quickly to have some type of plan in place should he step by the wayside, and they'd have to bring in a veteran quarterback, likely in free agency. And I don't think Brady would hang the team out to dry. I think he would, if he were even to think about it, he would do so before free agency, right?
Yeah, definitely not. I think that when Jimmy Garoppolo was traded, I think they had a pretty good idea in the back of their head that Brady would be back for sure next season because, like you said, if he were to retire, they'd be in a really tough spot. They'd be left with Brian Hoyer and potentially a rookie that they draft as their only quarterback options. And I don't think Tom would do that to the team. I think that the team got assurance from him that he'd be back, coming next season, and that's why they could go ahead with the trade of Jimmy Garoppolo, because if there was any question with Brady's status, I think they would have held on to him, and if they even needed to franchise him, they would have done that this coming offseason if there really was that big of a question with Brady's status. So I think for sure he's back next season. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see an extension of Brady to perhaps lower these cap hits these next couple seasons, like we've seen in the past where Brady sort of redoes his contract when he has 2 years left. I don't know what about you, how you feel, but I think it's a possibility.
It's a possibility. They have, I believe the number is $87 million in cap space. So if they really feel that they need more, or if there are free agents on the market that they need to go after, maybe they do that. By the way, before we go on to the free agents on the market, I want to talk about Gronk's contract numbers. He has 2 years remaining on his current contract, including $19 million of potential cash and cap figures of $10.9 million and $12 million respectively in the next 2 years. I look at those numbers, and those are pretty big cap hits if Gronk were to step away. And obviously, I think the Patriots would like to avoid that scenario taking place.
Yeah, definitely. I think they obviously want him back, and they know how much he means to the offense. And he stayed really relatively healthy for him this past season. I mean, missed the 2 games, and one of which was because of the suspension. So this is probably Gronkowski's healthiest season in a long time, and it showed that he had a really productive year. He carried the team at times, and he's really important to the offense. So of course, if they want to make sure that they have him around. I mean, his contract there is a lot of money to go to him, and I don't think this would ever happen, but I think there could be some talk of him potentially getting traded if they ever thought that was too much money to carry around for him. I'm not one that believes that to be the case, but I know some others have floated the idea around that they wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots ever did trade him. But I just think because of his talent, he's not worth trading, especially when you have Tom Brady in his last couple of seasons of his career.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that, Ryan. I mean, I'd say it's a little bit more than 50-50 Gronk returns, and I'd say it's 95.5 Brady returns at this point. I mean, almost 100% certainty that Brady will be back. I think I agree with you on that, on both of those very much. Talking with Ryan Hannable, beat reporter for WEEI.com, doing an outstanding job covering the New England Patriots. Want to tell you about SimpleContacts.com. I have to tell you about my newest time-saving trick. I got my daughter's contact lens prescription renewed for my couch 3 weeks ago, and it took me less than 5 minutes using an awesome new app called Simple Contacts. Simple Contacts lets you renew your prescription and reorder your brand of lenses from anywhere in just minutes through an online vision test. You can also renew your existing prescription if you have that in hand. It's designed by doctors, and every test is reviewed by a doctor, so they're literally bringing the doctor's office to your home. The contact lens prices are unbeatable, and the vision test is only $20. Shipping is free. Best of all, my listeners get $30 off their first Simple Contacts order using my promo code Trags. Try it for yourself and save $30 on your lenses by going to simplecontacts.com/TRAGS or just entering the code Trags at checkout. Again, that's simplecontacts.com/Trags or just enter my code TRAGS at checkout. Speaking once again with Ryan Hannable of WEEI.com. Ryan, I want to move on to the free agents that the Patriots have to make a decision on. They have, by my count, 18 significant free agents that they're going to have to decide yay or nay. And I'm not going to go over all of them, but some notable names, obviously, and you know the list as well as anybody. We'll start with Nate Solder. He's 29. He made just over $10 million this year, AAV. And I want to get a sense from you. He's been around so long. So many people, almost everybody following the Patriots knows the story of his son Hudson battling cancer. Do the Patriots re-sign Nate Solder?
I think they'd bring him back if he would agree to come back for a year or two. I think that he did a solid job. I know he got a lot of heat early on in the season, but I think some of that might have had to do with his son's health. But I think as the year went on, he actually had a pretty solid season. So I think if he wanted to come back, they definitely would entertain it. But I think the other thing to keep in mind is with him is I wouldn't be surprised if he retired. I think that he's been smart with his money. He's put the money away. He hasn't spent money foolishly. He probably wants to, spend more time with his family. So I wouldn't be surprised if he retired. But I think that if he did, play next season, it would definitely be with the Patriots. I can't see him wanting to play with another team. So I think the Patriots would like to have him back, and ultimately it'll be up to Solder if he wants to come back and play another season.
I think that's a great call, Ryan. Malcolm Butler, I think it's safe to say he's played his last down in a Patriots uniform, and his last snap in a Patriot uniform would be on a punt return team in the Super Bowl. How ironic is that?
Yeah, no, we were all saying, going into the Super Bowl that probably was going to be his last game with the Patriots, and little did we know that we saw his last offensive snap with the Patriots in the AFC Championship game at Gillette Stadium. So yeah, that was sort of that things kind of came along quickly with that, and I think that a lot of us, or everyone really, was caught off guard. But yeah, I can't imagine any scenario where Malcolm Butler returns to the Patriots at all. I think that he'll go to the open market. He probably won't get as much money as maybe he once thought at the beginning of the season, but I still imagine there'll be a lot of interest in him. And one thing to look for is maybe he signs with a competing AFC team to try to stick it to Belichick and the Patriots.
Well, I mean, the Houston Texans certainly DeAndre Hopkins made that Photoshop pitch for him in the days after the Super Bowl. I thought that was pretty hilarious, and and another obvious possible potential landing spot is Detroit with Matt Patricia there. But you have any expectation of where he's going to wind up?
No, I mean, like you said, Texans could be an interesting landing spot. I know they have a really good defense, and he would certainly help that. I don't know about Detroit. I kind of think that maybe Patricia was along the same lines of Belichick with, being part of that decision. I think ultimately it was a Belichick decision, but I think Patricia certainly agreed with it to a point. So I don't think Detroit's an option. It's hard to say. Knowing Malcolm Butler and him being 27 years old, I wouldn't be surprised if he follows the money and goes where the most money is. So right now it's hard to say, but in the end, I think Butler's probably going to follow whatever team gives him the most money.
Okay, yes or no, and maybe a 1 or 2 or 3 word explanation as to your rationale, whether or not they're back. Rex Burkhead.
Yes, I think that he was a solid running back, and I think they can get him back on maybe a cheaper contract than, say, a Dion Lewis.
Johnson Batamosi.
No, I think that he can probably go somewhere else and get more guaranteed to play, defensively, whereas with the Patriots, he'd be mostly a special teamer in the number 4 corner.
32-year-old Matthew Slater.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that he's probably almost a guarantee to come back with the Patriots. I think he loves it here. His family's in the area. I can't see him playing for another NFL team for that matter the rest of his career.
Cameron Fleming, 25 years of age.
That's an interesting one. I think that he actually did a pretty solid job this year in, making his, play speak for itself. So I think that he'll actually get some interest on the open market. If I had to guess, I would probably say either he or Adrian Waddle return to the team. And if I had to pick one, I guess it'd be Fleming because I think Waddle gets more interest in the open market.
Yep. 32-year-old wide receiver, Danny Amendola, playoff Dola.
Definitely. I think he wants to come back for another season. I think you have to, keep in mind that he's really close with Tom Brady and Julian Edelman, and Edelman didn't get to play this year. So I think that Amendola has one more year left in him and will, give it another run with the Patriots. I think he's better suited for the Patriots than any other team. So while he might get some interest from other teams, he probably wouldn't do as well with those teams as he would do with Tom Brady and the Patriots.
We'll finish up with 27-year-old running back Dion Lewis.
No, I think that he's probably as close to as good as gone as Malcolm Butler. Not that there's anything against Dion Lewis. I just think that he's going to get a lot of interest on the open market and a lot of contract offers. And we know that Bill Belichick doesn't really like to pay running backs a lot of money. And I just think that the money that will be thrown Dion Lewis's way will just be too much for the Patriots to offer.
All right, let's go out to the NFL free agents. And I want to get your sense before I ask you players. Where do you think their biggest need is, and where do you think they would apply the free agent market versus drafting somebody? What positions do you look at on the Patriot roster where a free agent here and there could really help them?
I think you got to go to the defensive side of the ball, especially the pass rush. I think that's the biggest need on the entire roster, and you need to have a guy that can get after the passer. I think that was, a thing that we noticed all year that was an issue, and that's ultimately why they had to bring in a 39-year-old James Harrison just to provide some stability at that defensive end outside linebacker spot of setting the edge and getting after the quarterback. So I would think that, that's their top priority on, is getting faster on defense on the edges and even at the linebacker spot. So I would say, that their top priorities in free agency are probably defensive end and linebacker.
Well, so defensive end, because there are some very big names on here. Ezekiel Ansah, 28 with the Detroit Lions. He certainly is right up there at the top of the pecking order. I don't think they're going to touch like a guy like William Hayes, who's 32 with the Dolphins. I think Ansah is right in their sweet spot. Adrian Claiborne, 29 from Atlanta. Mm-hmm. You take a look at Jared Crick, 28 from Denver. Cornelius Carradine, 28 years of age from San Francisco. And here's an interesting one, if he hits the market, and he's unrestricted right now. DeMarcus Lawrence from Dallas. He's only 25. Yeah, and he's only 25. Of those names, who excites you the most?
I think Lawrence does, but I just him being 25 years old, I don't think that the Patriots are going to want to have that contract, to them. It's hard to say. I almost kind of want to think that they might go with that position in the draft and make that one of their first picks is go after, a stud college defensive end. It's those free agents. None of those names really, really excite me. I don't know about you. I remember
Lawrence does and Ansah do. Those two names would excite me.
But the thing with Ants is, don't you think that he'll get too much money on the open market that Belichick won't want to touch? That's sort of where I stand. I mean, they already gave Stephon Gilmore, massive
Yes.
money last year. It's hard to see them, doing that again on that side of the ball. So that's why looking at those names, and that sort of makes me believe even more that they might, sign a veteran guy that they can depend on for short money there, and then, make their big splash at that position via the draft. I don't know. I just don't think that position is really as deep as maybe some first thought, going into the offseason.
Okay, here are the top three corners on the free agent market, assuming they all hit the market, and they should. They're all unrestricted. Trumaine Johnson, David Amerson, Trumaine Johnson from L.A., David Amerson from the Raiders, and Prince Makimura.
Yeah, say that 5 times.
Those and Prince is only 28 years of age. So those are three potential possibilities if they go free agency at the corner position to replace Malcolm Butler. No?
Yeah, but I don't know. I think they actually do like Eric Rowe, and I think that they can't spend big money, like I said before, just because of the money on Stephon Gilmore. So it's really hard to see them really go all out at the cornerback position. I got to keep in mind that maybe Patriots fans and us in the media forgot about is Jonathan Jones. I think they really like Jonathan Jones, and him coming back healthy next year could solidify, that the cornerback spot, and they could go into the year with Stephon Gilmore, Eric Rowe, Jonathan Jones, and even Cyrus Jones. I mean, everyone's going to hate on Cyrus Jones, but he was a second-round pick. He missed the entire year. Maybe he comes back next year with a fresh start and actually contribute. So I don't think the Patriots will do anything at the cornerback position.
Okay, we're going to finish up here, Ryan, and I appreciate your time speaking with Ryan Hannable of WEEI.com. Patriots, do they trade up for a quarterback? Kay Adams tweeted this out on NFL Network on Tuesday morning. It caught my eye, and I'm like, really? You think that's what they'll do? I guess that possibility certainly exists after they acquired that first-round pick. I think there's a possibility they trade up for a quarterback. What do you think, Ryan?
I think there's a possibility for sure. I mean, they're almost certainly going to draft a quarterback in this draft with the expectation that it's Brady's successor, and obviously you want to make sure that you get the guy that you want and it's the right guy. So, say that they see the way that the draft is trending, and if they sit back and wait, maybe they miss out on the guy that they identified as the potential Brady replacement. So, of course, if that scenario plays itself out, then I definitely see them trading up. I will say that this draft class is pretty deep, with the good quarterbacks. They have, that top 10 group of three quarterbacks that obviously the Patriots won't be touching. But then there's that next, sort of 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks that maybe one of those guys does fall to the Patriots in the first round, or maybe even falls to that 49ers pick early in the second round. So if I had to guess, I would probably say that they use that 49ers pick on a quarterback, and whether or not they use that pick and another pick to move up to, say, the end of the first round to get that quarterback, it remains to be seen. But, it's kind of hard to say whether or not they'll trade up just now, just without seeing how the draft is going to play itself out. But it wouldn't surprise me, just because it is a big decision and they need to make sure they get the right guy.
You don't think Josh Allen is going to fall down to them, do you?
No, I don't. Baker Mayfield's probably the only guy that has any chance of falling down to him, and I don't know if he necessarily would fit the Patriots and who they would want.
I don't either.
So you're probably looking at that next tier quarterback class, which it's too early in the process to really know if they like anyone. They haven't had the combine, hasn't happened yet. They haven't had any pro days. So for the first time in a long time, it's going to be worth noting to see where these Patriots coaches go to all these quarterbacks pro days, and where does Bill Belichick go? Maybe we see Joshua Daniels having a hands-on look at this process, and who they meet with at the combine. So that's definitely, those will be the first clues these next couple of weeks to see who the Patriots are interested in, and they'll go from there. I mean, I think that they'll show interest in a lot of quarterbacks because they want to see everyone out there, and knowing how hands-on Bill Belichick is, it wouldn't be surprised to see him at a lot of these top quarterbacks pro days getting a first-hand look at these prospects.
I love J.T. Barrett, but he's like a mid to late round quarterback. And the reason I like J.T. Barrett out of Ohio State is because he has all of the intangibles, but not necessarily the pure NFL projected skill set. I do think that a guy like JT Barrett can win at the NFL level, and I don't think people would hear that and say, well, Tim Tebow was the same way, and you look where Tim Tebow is now. I don't feel that way at all. I think JT Barrett has just enough true NFL pocket skills, and he could also run RPO, and I just really like the way JT Barrett handles himself in big clutch situations.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that he showed that he could, play well, as he has that Tom Brady clutches in him where I forget which game it was last year where he led Ohio State back at the second half with a tremendous fourth quarter comeback, and so he has that intangible. Yes, Penn State. So he has that intangible there, but I don't know. I see the Patriots going for more of a pocket passer. I find it interesting. I don't know if Josh McDaniels would want to have a guy like JT Barrett as his potential quarterback of the future, and that would sort of change the whole offense. I kind of see them staying with a guy, in the pocket that can be a pocket passer and, isn't known for the RPOs and is more known for staying in the pocket. I mean, if Belichick really was interested in Barrett, he has this guy, Greg Schiano, and Urban Meyer out there for that matter, so he'll get a good, some good insight on him, but I don't know if Barrett's the guy. I don't know about you.
Okay, fan bases. At the Super Bowl, who was your favorite fan base? The Eagles and their rowdy fans, or the Patriots and their self-entitled fan base? Who was better?
Well, if we're being honest, the Eagles outnumbered the Patriots fans probably 4 or 5 to 1. I mean, I think that's just a matter of the Eagles not being in as many Super Bowls as the Patriots have been.
Absolutely.
I mean, this was the Patriots' third Super Bowl in 4 years, and you're going to a city like Minneapolis. It's just not really a place that you have Patriots fans want to travel for, a Super Bowl. They're probably, if they're going to travel to one, they're going to go to a warm weather city the next couple of years, like the Atlantas, the Miamis, the Tampas. So there really weren't that many Patriots fans there. And, at the stadium, Eagles fans had their chants going probably 3-4 hours before the game, and they were into it. And even in the mall on Friday and Saturday, they were, had their Eagles chants going, and they were loud and obnoxious, but I think that it was cool to see in a way that the Eagles fans got their chance to be in a Super Bowl and ultimately win it, because it has been so long for them. So the Eagles fans were out in full force and definitely outnumbered the Patriots fans.
Yeah, and you could tell they came hot to the party. They came, as one Tom Brady would like to say, juiced for the Super Bowl, no question about that. And Jason Kelce made it all the worthwhile at the parade with one of the best obscenity-laced speeches that you'll ever hear at any Super Bowl celebration. You did catch that, right?
I did. He had some choice words from Mike Lombardi, huh?
He sure did. He sure did, and we both know Mike. We both respect Mike. I know I speak for myself. I respect Mike Lombardi as much as anybody in football, and certainly Bill Belichick has said on numerous occasions he likewise respects Mike Lombardi's opinion. But Jason Kelce, Eagles starting center from the University of Cincinnati, not so much. I want to.
Oh, he's a Cincinnati guy.
What? Yeah, Jason Kelce. You bet
yeah,
you
Cincinnati
he
guy.
is. Yeah, and so is Brent Selleck. So they had actually, I'm sure Uke was a little bit torn, and not so much. His brother-in-law was quarterback of the Patriots, but I'm sure
there are some hometown guys on the other side.
What for Uke? Absolutely, a couple of UC Bearcats, and if it weren't for the fact that his brother-in-law was the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots, he I think might have been pulling for the Philadelphia Eagles, but. Clearly not the case this time around. Hey, Ryan, I hope you've been able to catch up on some sleep, because I know you were working 21-hour days. Rob Bradford just grinds you into the ground.
Hey, it's Super Bowl week. You got to expect that. Yes, it was a long week, but we're back home and we're recovering on the way to the combine, so we get some downtime. So it's a good time to rest up.
Get Daily team updates on the Patriots Newsfeed podcast on the CLNS Media Network with Tyler Trudeau. Also available on the CLNS Media New England Patriots postgame show feed, which is available on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and the CLNS Media mobile app. Thanks again for downloading today's Patriots Beat. Want to once again thank our guest, Ryan Hannable from WEEI.com. Ryan, how can people follow you?
On Twitter at Ryan Hannable, RyanHannable, and then obviously WEEI.com, content going up pretty much daily.
That is terrific. Follow us on Twitter at PatriotsCLNS. Also, you can follow us at CLNS Media. You can also give my personal account a follow at Trags, Trags. Today's sponsor, SimpleContacts.com. For Patriots Content Manager Mike Alonji, CLNS Media Executive Producer Larry H. Russell, and the founder of the network, Nick Gelso, thanks to everyone who tuned in. This is Mike Petralia, and this is the Patriots Beat podcast powered by CLNS Media.
What's going on, Past Nation? This is Marvin Zahn of the CLNS Media Network, and I'm here to tell you right now to check out the CLNS Media New England Patriots postgame show hosted by myself and my co-host, Mr. Mike Nice. And live on CLNS Radio immediately after every single Pats game. Call in at 929-477-2386 toll-free to get your voice heard and contribute to the host breakdown and analysis of the latest Patriots contest. We also got the stars and sorries of the day, Twitter posts for the plays of the game, and everything else that is going on with the 5-time Super Bowl champion. Subscribe to CLNS Media New England Patriots postgame show on iTunes and Stitcher, and the best way, download the free CLNS Media Network mobile app for on-demand listening anytime, any place, anywhere.